Hello, I am Mikkel, Nielsen, and I'm sitting here with Mette Heap. And Mette will introduce herself in a minute, when I did, or in 2 minutes, when I do a little introduction why I'm sitting here. And the reason I'm sitting here today is that I have my kids taken into care by the system. Forcefully, I didn't, well, at some point I gave my acceptance, but at some point I was ready to have my kids home, and the system wasn't exactly ready. They didn't want to give my kids back. And so for me, at some point, it's about a year ago, I started a very an activism, a very explicit way, also constructive. It has never been an aggressive way, but trying to tell people about a system in Denmark that doesn't work, and make awareness about this and investigating this. And I also say here as an introduction that both of us speak Danish fine, and actually when we talk together in Danish, it has a nice way, honesty to it. I like that, but I've chosen that we should speak English, and that's because actually Mette is half English, yeah. So, and the most important reason is that I think this is of an international interest, and I should shortly say why. Right now, the Human Rights Court has taken up 26 cases. They had already 10 cases. They took up 16 cases from Norway about kids taken into care. This is unheard of. This is a lot of cases. This is a lot of focus. It means today that American television has an American television broadcast channel has taken up this subject and do broadcast about this situation, what is happening in Norway with this. Norway is very similar in the construction of how they deal with this to Denmark. And I think that very central reason why these things are the way they are is because of the legal implementation of the theoretic of Kari Killén, Norwegian, what should we say, a scientist on the field in the most positive sense, but at least a woman who wrote a lot of books, and who have with the main teaching book when you study social worker in Denmark and in Norway and in Sweden. And then the special thing is that it has gone into the law system. Actually, I used to say it like this, that the law don't judge out of the Danish service law, they judge on behalf of this concept of bad parenting that is Kari Killén came up with. So, or I don't know if she came up with it, but she's advertising this, and she really made this whole system implemented. And in my investigation, I write every Thursday a letter where I investigate stuff. And in that investigation, I have come to this subject of Kari Killén. I wrote in Danish Thursday letter about that, and the next day I was contacted by a woman, and I think you tell why you contacted me. What did you say to me?
Well, I contacted you because your way of analyzing her spoke to me.
Yeah.
Because that is what I see when I'm out working.
Yes. So you work in the field of...
Well, in the social field,
as
as legal advisors.
as legal advisor.
In
You
the
are
social area.
you are a lawyer.
Not a barrister, but a lawyer.
Yeah. Yes. So you started to become a lawyer, and you have had such cases like this.
Well, for a year I was in the child department in West Jutland.
Yeah.
Where my job actually was to go through about 50 cases of children removed forcefully from home. Without the legal work having been done at all.
No legal work. No, we just done it.
Yeah.
You have another reason to know a little about Kari Killén.
Yes.
So will you tell a bit about that?
Well, she's my mother.
She's your mother.
Yes.
All right. And you kind of work on the other side. I mean, you're not pulling in the same direction, it seems.
No, I'm pulling in the opposite direction. And I'm very confused because I see children who should be removed that don't be removed. And I see children that shouldn't be removed.
Exactly.
And then when they start having a relation to their parents every second week for a couple of hours or whatever, it's like the family consultants don't really want to help them
improve that relation.
No, they want to keep it that way.
They want to not have attachment.
Correct.
They want to break down the attachment.
Yeah, well, that's my overall impression.
Why do you think they want that?
It's all about money, I think. And also for the foster parents, it's all about money. So they talk about bad reaction after they've spent a couple of hours with their parents.
They want to keep the kid.
Yeah, because they get money. They get paid. They have no interest in helping the child to function at home.
So it's about money. Yeah. Do you think that Kari Killén's theory is giving a way of supporting the possibilities for this kind of work, this kind of not constructive work, or working towards maintaining the child in care? Do you think that this way of the Kari Killén would give a way of supporting that? You understand what I mean?
Yes, I understand what you mean. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I see. In one of her books, she talks about frustrating the biological parents.
Frustrating, stressing, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, she uses
the word frustrating.
Frustrating, to see how they act under pressure.
Exactly. Yeah.
As if it's not enough pressure to be observed and maybe lose your children.
Yes.
So we put just a little bit more evil into it.
Yeah.
And then we frustrate them on purpose to see how do they react.
Yeah.
And in my world, this is sick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mette, you should think that the women that are able to tell all of Scandinavia how you should behave as an adult, what is inappropriate, what is appropriate, that woman would be very good at that. That woman would be bringing up her kids in a way that is kind of ideal, that is kind of good, really good, and where all this works, all this attachment and all these things would work great. Is that the case?
Well, I don't know. I was sexually molested for years by a man on our street, as was a lot of other kids. And I was also molested by a family member.
While you grew up?
Yeah, while she was working on her famous books.
All right. So there's a big contrast here between what you want to sell or present yourself as, and then what was going on in your life.
Definitely.
Did you know anything about what your mom was doing at that time? What she was?
Not really. They were both. Well, I saw some pictures while she was working on her big project, and I saw a picture of a child who'd been burned with an iron.
Was a thing that she would investigate this because
she had some pictures from the
lying
child,
around.
Yeah. not lying around. She was working. And I remember I commented on it. It was a small child, and she said, "You should be so happy for the home you have." Well, I've burnt myself since many times by accident.
Yeah.
I think I would rather be burned by an iron.
Yeah. So she didn't notice. You were living. She worked a lot and stuff, but she didn't notice you, or maybe ignored,
or didn't understand. And if she didn't understand, I doubt what those books are worth.
Yeah. But it's something like it's one of the most serious kind of child that you let them down. It's if you don't help somebody who is under, I guess, years of sexual abuse.
Yeah.
It is kind of that's kind of pretty massive. You either have to be not very good at noticing what goes on, or you neglect, ignore something.
I think she was not very good at sensing
what was going on.
No.
So while busy looking after mistakes that other parents.
Yeah, but she didn't make any mistakes.
No, I can see that. There's nothing wrong here. That was the story. Yeah. Is it that keeping appearance? Should everything look nice and right?
Yes, but as she says herself on a YouTube video, you never notice the middle class kids.
And she didn't notice.
No, apparently not.
No. You have confronted her later with that story.
Yeah, well, she admits that I've been sexually abused and that she didn't look properly after me. She admits that. But she goes from there to me not being mentally healthy. And the reason I hate her is because I've been sexually abused, which gives no meaning.
No.
Maybe I just got angry at her because she's an arrogant bitch and she didn't listen to me.
And that's how you see her in the private, as a person, as an arrogant bitch, that she would...
definitely.
Yeah. She's not like this warm family person.
Well, she is probably with her grandchildren.
All right. But she didn't like you.
No, I don't think so.
For some reason.
And I didn't like her.
Very early or what?
Rather early,
yeah. She talks about that there is violence, there is obvious neglect or obvious mistreating of a child that you could see in marks and or other kind of clear signs. But then she says that is kind of easy. It's not something that you should focus so much on. The interesting thing is the psychological kind of neglect, somebody being cold or somebody being not seeing that person. Or how about that side? How about that that kind of being present or being able to see you or acknowledge you as a child when you look away from not noticing that you're being abused?
Well, I think our moves to England and back to Norway and then to Denmark, she never understood how hard it was for me.
A lot of moving. A lot of moving. So the base of Killén's theory is attachment theory, or some
Yes.
kind, and like one could imagine that would imply some kind of solid room that you could recognize, but you have experienced a life of enormous amount of moving around, not having the chance of rooting yourself, and then thereby building a steady identity on it. Yeah. Every time moving around from
Well, between the three countries.
yeah, between England,
Norway first, then England, then back to Norway, then Denmark, then Norway.
yeah. And you like Denmark,
Yes.
and for some reason, yeah, that was what you wanted to be. As soon as you was 18, you wanted to go back to live.
I think the years from year 8 to year 12 are important years. So I went back to Norway feeling I was a Dane.
Exactly.
And I never felt Norwegian again.
No. And you speak very well Danish. It's very as though you were a Dane. And that's the little, it's like, once you contacted me, it's like, how was that possible that you would be this Danish person so clearly and then still be Killén's daughter? Although it is like most see you from the side here, but it is there is some facial features that is if you look a little bit to Killén and looked at you, I see at least. And
I prefer to look like my father.
Yeah, you do, yeah. Yes. And your father is called Kari Killén.
Yes.
He is British English.
Was.
Yeah, he was. Did he ever become a Danish citizen?
No.
But he lived here for his...
Well, his last 20 years with a new wife.
Yeah. You lived together in Norway for a part of your upbringing. You live, your mom and your dad, and
Yes.
you live here in Aarhus.
And I left when I was 18.
Yeah, you left.
And they were still
yeah,
married.
Yeah. But for some reason, he also at some point moves to Denmark from Norway when they get divorced.
Yes. Because he had met another woman.
And she was Danish?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the reason. And he actually moved here to Denmark before you did?
No, after.
Okay. So you
My daughter was 2.5 years old when he came to Denmark.
Okay. So you met your first relation in
Aarhus.
All right, like that, and then you get child together, and then he later come, but not to Aarhus.
No.
He then comes to
Lyngby.
yeah. All right. Yes.
And then we moved, so we got closer to it.
Yeah. So in that younger period, you know that your mom is not being the best mom for you. That you know, you experienced that in your body. But you didn't know so much about the theory of what she was doing. You know that she was big shot in this area.
Yeah, well, I didn't really notice the meaning of her before I had that job in the family department.
And that's not so long ago.
Well, yeah, 2003 to 2004.
Yeah. So you know that she's doing something with kids and pedagogic and stuff.
Yeah, because they started commenting on
But I'd say like before,
yeah.
you know that she is into this business, but you don't know that she is so much a kind
I
of.
didn't understand the meaning of it at all.
No.
No. Not before I got that job.
And you didn't understand the position that she was in. That it's a very powerful position, weird, dominant position of this field.
Yeah,
when
so
it comes
I
to.
better read her books to know what I was actually dealing with.
You're sitting here with these 50 cases.
Yeah.
That has not been any court process. The kids are taken away.
Yeah.
But there has been no, and you have to deal with this. You get this pile of paper.
Yeah, they just, had reached their conclusions, and
you're responsible. You're actually on that side of the table.
Yeah.
Where your mum used to.
And one day I just understood after having read her books, I'm actually tidying up after my mum's disciples' work. And I thought,
fantastic.
What am I doing here?
And that's the point you realize that you're not going to do this.
And so I did it, and I finished my job, and I left, and I thought, I will never ever work with these cases again.
Could you have, I'm just thinking now, could you have been the one doing it different? Could you have been the one changing this?
Thinking back.
Not really.
Thinking back, if I had had courage enough, I should have done it.
You should have stayed.
Yeah.
You should have been reforming.
No, it was just a project. My project was to tidy up. When I had tidied up, then my project was done.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I didn't want to look back. But then I became self-employed, and I met these cases from a different side.
Yeah. But if we follow your story, you would have this upbringing, which was definitely, I say that you would have an upbringing that would be one of Killén's cases or somebody else's cases, right? If you watched as a social worker a person who had an upbringing that like yours, you would definitely intervene, right? That would be something to investigate.
Yes.
You have this upbringing, and nobody knows that. You slip through the system. Nobody notices that and you decide that you want to study your. I guess you do. You decide that at some point. Is that early?
No, actually, I went for an interview at the social workers' school in August.
All right.
Because I thought that was the way I wanted to go.
Yeah. You're young now. What you describe now?
21 or something.
21, yeah.
And then they said it would be an honour to have me there.
Exactly, because you at that time had the second name of Killén.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Heap. And they had both been teaching there.
Yeah.
And I went outside and I thought, no way am I going to do this career and be compared to my parents for the rest of my working life.
So actually that was, it was not because you realized that there was something completely wrong here.
No.
It was just because you were recognized there, and that surprised you that they would, that your parents would be that famous, that you would be in this field famous.
Yeah, well, for me it was just some books in a shelf.
Yeah. So when you sit there and when they say that it's an honor to have you here, you're surprised.
Yes, and it freaked me out.
It freaked you out because it wasn't something you entirely wanted to be related with.
No, walking in their footsteps, being compared to her. No.
So you decide you start there and you have this experience, you decide that is not for you.
Mm.
And then
Well, then I thought if I studied law, I could still work with the social area, but from a different angle.
Exactly. You wanted to work with the social area. Did you want it to to. Did you have anything that you said like this should be done better, this should be done differently? Were you an idealist?
Yes, I was. Well, I think I still am.
Yeah.
But for a while I was working voluntarily with the refugees and refugee families while I was studying.
Uh-huh.
And also that back then I met family consultants who just didn't understand cultural differences and differences in upbringing. And I thought they were very racist.
Uh-huh.
Instead of trying to understand.
Uh-huh. Mate, I just like, because we don't see your face, I'm sorry about this, but I just want to angle this differently because I think that the people watching this should see your face from the front also a little bit. So I think they've seen me now, so I think that you can be in the picture here instead. So you decide that you want to become a lawyer at some point, and you have the. I think it's a little bit difficult study humor. It needs a lot of studying, right? You had that energy and will to get through a pretty hard education.
I couldn't do it today. That's for sure.
And that's because you changed, or because the system changed?
No, I could probably do it, but it was hard, especially because my daughter was 1 year old when I started, and the year before I finished, I had my son.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So in a way, it was easy for me. For all the other students, they partied from Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah. And you were.
And I knew that I couldn't party because when my kids were asleep, I had to study.
Yeah.
So in many ways, it was easy for me than for those who didn't have a family.
Yeah. And how was your life at that point? Was you had a rough upbringing. It's rough to be sexually abused.
Yes.
For years. It's not something you kind of just, as I understand, and there's, even if you follow these theories that Killén writes about, it's obviously that would not, but you would have a fairly functional life, or you had a willpower to.
I think it was my willpower, but about half a year after I had my daughter, I had a depression, and I started in therapy, and I was in therapy for 5 years until I got pregnant again, just before I finished school.
Yeah. You actually talk through all of these things about your childhood and all that stuff. Yeah. How was your mother supporting in that period?
Yeah, she was actually paying.
She paid for that, yeah.
Until my parents had the divorce. Then she would only pay if he would pay half.
All right.
Yeah. So from there on, I paid myself because I didn't want to be stuck in the middle.
You had a fairly good relation at that point, and
yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
We didn't have rows, but of course she enjoyed her grandchildren like most grandparents do.
Yeah.
So for a while it was okay, and especially after she got divorced, because she became really pathetic.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's later than I thought, actually, the divorce. But we'll have to. Yeah. So we plan to do two interviews, and we would do one that kind of focused on Mette's life, and that was half an hour, and that is right now reached the half an hour. So we rounding up this one. We want to do one other interview, and that would be kind of looking at that we have what we have seen in Mette's life, that kind of splitting kind of way that this woman worked, and then the connection into the theoretical work. So we will do one more interview, but we thank for now. We thank for this interview.
Thank you.
About your life.
You're welcome.
Yeah.